right, that's what we got. Good morning. I'd like to call the Pasco County Workshop Agenda Tuesday, November 18th to order. Please rise for the invocation and pledge.
Good morning. Let's pray. Well, Father, we've come together for another important meeting today, and in this meeting, the hope for is to come to a balance between the fees that are required in order to continue to bring in the revenue that we need for the county, and yet at the same time, Lord, a balance that will continue to make Pasco an inviting place for individuals and companies that want to come in and be part of our wonderful, wonderful county, Lord. So as we struggle to find that balance, I would just ask that you give us all wisdom, that you give us all understanding, and help us to come to an equitable solution. So when all is said and done, the growth will continue, people will still come and be part of our community, and yet the bottom line will be maintained. So thank you, Lord, for being with us today, and just lift us all up in your name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, can we have the roll call?
District 1, Commissioner Oakley.
Here.
District 2, Commissioner Waitman.
Present.
District 4, Commissioner Yeager.
Here.
District 5, Commissioner Mariano.
Here.
District 3, Chairman Starkey.
Here. Okay, I will now turn it over to the county administrator. Good morning.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Welcome this morning. Actually, Chaplain Howie put it best. Today, we are here to discuss mobility fees, and I'm going to turn it over to Nick Urin here in just a second. And there is a lot of discussion about balance. What are the right numbers? It's been a while since we've addressed mobility fees on the whole here in Pasco County, but that's not without looking at the totality of impact fees and other fees that we assess on new development, both for our infrastructure, both for our schools, utilities, that we look in order to make sure that the infrastructure is in place to support the growth and the development that has been, quite honestly, a boon for our county in a lot of ways, but with growth come challenges. And so I'm going to ask Nick to give a brief presentation on the mobility fee study update, and we'll look to the board for some guidance and discussion on various options on how we can address mobility fees going forward. So, Mr. Uhren.
You need a screen like over there somewhere.
Well, we do have the handouts in front of you.
Yes,
so
you
we'll.
do.
Well, good morning. Good morning. Let's see.
Good
I'm
morning.
on. Yeah. Nick Uren, County Engineer, and I'm going to do my best to walk you through the balancing act that is an update to the mobility fees for Pasco County. We have 6 items on the list. We're going to talk about the current impact fee for single-family homes in Pasco County. I'm going to give you a brief overview of the history of mobility fees in Pasco County, tell you how we determine the need for transportation facilities, how we estimate the revenues that are going to be available over the next 25 years to fund our transportation needs, and then I'm going to show you some mobility rate options, and then we're going to get to the board discussion. So single-family homes in Pasco County presently pay just south of $25,000 in impact fees. And this is, I'm going to use a suburban context for most of the information that we share today, even though we have differing fees in urban, suburban, and rural areas. A lot of the fees that are paid in Pasco County are in the suburban category, and so I'm going to focus attention on that just for simplicity, but there are parallels for urban and rural areas. Mobility fees is $9,600 for a single-family home of around 2,000 or more square feet. And then you've got a school fee. Well, and I need to emphasize, the mobility fee, the purpose of it is to fund the land and the design and construction of the roadway network, the transportation facility network for Pasco County that supports the additional growth and development that occurs throughout the county. It is also, there are components that fund the bicycle and pedestrian facilities. There are components that fund transit, shelters, and vehicles. But primarily, the bulk of that amount is devoted to buying the land needed for roads and then constructing the roadway surfaces, the curbing, the drainage, and whatnot that allow people to drive around in Pasco County. School fees are $9,300, just south of the mobility fee mark for today, and they fund the land and the building costs for new schools. You have a park and rec fee of $3,500, and that funds both the land and the construction of the new park facilities on that land. We have a fire rescue fee of $674 per home, and that funds land, stations, and vehicles for the new facilities, the new capital facilities needed to support and serve our growing community. We have a libraries fee of $145, and that funds land and buildings for new libraries. And then we have a few other fees, hurricane impact fees, administration, and a resource fee that add up to around $475 per home. So that gives you the general context of an
Nick,
impact fee.
not shown in there, though, connection fees for utilities.
That's right. So county utility, water, sewer, and if you have reclaimed water, those connection fees add up to around $4,800 in addition to the amount shown here on the screen. A little less if you are using reclaimed water and tying in. It's about a 10% reduction. So how does this compare to other Central Florida counties for the same type of uses? So a single-family home in Osceola County puts you at around $38,000 in total impact fees. And I want you to notice especially the blue bar on your chart here. The blue bar is the comparison of mobility fee rates in the various counties in Central Florida that are experiencing a high level of growth and development right now. Pasco County at 9,600 is right in the middle, maybe a little low middle. Osceola County is the high water mark at $23,000, $22,000 per home. I also want to mention, as you look at these comparisons, we've also got Polk, Orange, and Hillsborough County on here. Two things stuck out to me when I thought of these other four counties. The first is that 2/3 of the population in these other four counties is unincorporated, which means that 1/3 of the people in these other four counties live in municipalities, and there's a partnership between the county and the municipalities in providing infrastructure to serve their growing development and population. In Pasco, we are 92% unincorporated, which means the five of you are the main players. It means that we carry the heavy water when it comes to serving our communities as a county because all the growth and development is happening in the unincorporated areas of the county. The other thing that struck me about this is that Osceola County, even though they are the high water mark for mobility fees, has roughly on the market today 1,500 new single-family homes that are being made available for sale within their county. And I say that to say there is a conversation to be had about whether increasing mobility fees too much will dissuade construction from occurring. And Osceola suggests that that's not true, that people are going to build where there is desire for residential development to occur, and that we need to make sure that we are balancing the fees that we charge on that new development with the demand that they are creating on our transportation network. As far as the overview for mobility fees go, the mobility fees were established in 2011, and they've had a very good run of relatively flat fee amounts. So in 2011, the county adopted a mobility fee ordinance that said, let's move away from just road impact fees that focus primarily on roadway capacity, and let's talk about multimodal infrastructure. So they added the bike ped component, the transit component, and when they established the mobility fee in 2011, they also created a tax increment fund that allowed for us to subsidize or reduce the amount of mobility fees that we charged on new development by allocating future property taxes to the transportation system to fund the amount that we were reducing in their upfront cost. So instead of charging the full amount for building new roads at the time of construction, we said, let's charge a reduced amount at time of construction, and then let's add property taxes, future property taxes, to the transportation fund to fully fund the needed transportation infrastructure. That's how the fee system was created in 2011. 2014 and 2018, we did 4-year updates per Florida statutes. We did not have any significant rate increases in those first 2 4-year updates, although I do want to mention that in 2014, one of the ways we addressed and prevented the need for for a rate increase was by the county creating a second local option gas tax. So that's 5 cents of gas tax that's charged per gallon of fuel sold here in Pasco County that goes directly into transportation capital projects. In 2021, we did our next 4-year update, and we had a modest rate increase to fund the predicted need that was not going to be paid for from gas taxes and TIF funds, and said, okay, we have a small shortfall, let's increase the mobility fees a small amount, and that will allow us to fully fund our transportation needs over the next 25 years. One key component I want to point out, and this will come up later, is we were predicting in 2021 that Pasco would only grow to 800,000 people in 2050. The current forecast suggests that we will be north of 1 million people. For context, our mobility fee system also has components that vary by land use. So residential uses, as they get constructed, are charged a different amount because they have different trip-making characteristics. They are charged a different amount than, say, a retail use. A large box retail store that generates less trips per 1,000 square feet is charged less money than a small convenience store that generates a very high number of trips per 1,000 square feet. Office spaces and industrial spaces are also treated differently. In Pasco County, and I'll show this on the next slide, we have historically allowed for a 100% reduction in fees for office and residential because we wanted to attract any office and industrial employers to the county. So we have decided to incentivize their construction by charging them no fees. That's something that we definitely want to talk about this morning as we consider how to address our growth in infrastructure demands. The fees are divided into 3 different areas: urban, suburban, and rural. And then the fees also vary by form of development. We have a standard form. We have mixed use, meaning you've got residential and non-residential land uses together within the same property that allow for trip internal capture to occur. You have a traditional neighborhood development, which you think of properties like Longleaf or like Starkey Ranch as traditional neighborhood developments. And then you have transit-oriented developments that are allowed to increase their densities because they're along future transit investment corridors. Overall, the primary uses that are constructed in Pasco County fall into the standard category, and the majority of them fall into the suburban area. So just wanted to mention that there's a lot of complexity associated with our fee structure, but the majority fall into suburban standard development patterns. How do we determine our need for transportation facilities? Well, we look at those 3 areas, the urban, the suburban, and the rural, and we look at the amount of growth expected in each of those areas and the amount of investment in roadway capacity that is needed to accommodate that future travel demand. And we actually, I shouldn't say roadway capacity, we deal with it in terms of person miles of capacity because we are multimodal, and we look at the investment in not just roadway capacity for vehicles, but also bicycle, pedestrian facilities, and transit facilities. When we're determining needs, if you look at this map, this is this is the map from your comp plan, the Vision Transportation Network. The dashed lines are the roads that have not yet been constructed. The solid lines are roads that exist, but may not exist in their widest or final form. Meaning we may have a road like Old Pasco Road is on the map as a 2-lane road today, but we are widening it to 4 lanes in the vicinity of Overpass Road. So that would be a solid road that is going to become a bigger road, and we're spending a significant amount of money, I want to say around $30 million, to widen that section of Old Pasco Road from 2 to 4 lanes. So we look at all of those things, and those are the projects that feed into the amount of funds necessary to support our target volume to capacity ratios in each of these 3 areas, the urban, the suburban, and the rural. So we predict the amount of growth that's going to happen in each of these 3 areas, the urban, suburban, and rural, And then we identify a target volume to capacity ratio, which is the level of busyness, the level of congestion that we're willing to accept within these three different areas. And we have generally said, in an urban area, because we're allowing more people to be located closer together, and because we're willing to accept a higher level of congestion on our roadways, we don't need to spend as much per person in those urban areas. When you get into the suburban area, people are spreading out a little bit more, and we expect to provide a higher level of service or a lower level of congestion on the roadways in the suburban area, so we need to spend a little more per person when we add development in the suburban area. In the rural areas, people are spreading out even farther, and we want to provide an even higher level of service. We expect no congestion or low levels of congestion in our rural areas, so we need to spend even more per person. And that's part of what drives the various fees that we would seek to collect from development in each of these three areas. So I talked about trying to get to 1 million people, and when you look at the population growth, that's the second row on your table, the 2050 population, we're showing a total of just over 1 million people being in Pasco County in the next 25 years. In order to, and that's a growth of 330,000 people. In order to accommodate that growth, we need to build around 960 lane miles of roadways. And again, that's constructing new roads on the dash lines where we don't have roads at all right now, and it's constructing bigger roads on the existing corridors. That total cost that we need to invest in our transportation system is $6.9 billion. So that's the amount of revenue that we would be seeking if we want to fully fund the transportation system in order to produce the targeted levels of congestion in the urban, suburban, and rural areas of Pasco County when we're at 1 million people.
Do you want to ask a question?
Very important number. Madam Chair.
Can we go back to the urban, suburban, rural costs? Because Commissioner here is questioning it, but
Yeah,
those of us who've gone to places and studied this, we know it's 100% true.
I understand it. I understand the studies and
Go
the
back one slide,
conferences
Nick.
and everything else. But the folks that live in the urban areas require more services and needs and demands we hear from all the time than folks in rural areas.
But the cost for the service.
But the
is-
roads are being used more in the urban areas. You hear all the time, we hear all the time in our district, we need Meadow Point widened from 2 lanes to 4 lanes, Old Pasco Road, which is being done, Wesley Chapel Boulevard, Curly Road improvements, along 54, Collier Parkway extension. Those folks are demanding, and they're paying a lot of money to live in those areas. Common sense tells me that this is really kind of a backwards formula, but folks in rural areas, you don't hear them demanding for the roads and different things. They require less. Some of them aren't even on utilities. The folks that are in rural areas require less services from the county. They're paying higher property taxes because they have larger properties or more custom homes. You're not calling police and fire as much as what's going on in the urban areas, and those guys need to get their times, increase their call times. So I know what I hear and I listen to what the studies say, but common sense and kind of the way things operate in real life are really, in my opinion, is the opposite. It contradicts itself.
Sure.
So-
And Commissioner, I want to help make it what I hope to be a helpful distinction. You're talking about ongoing government services that are needed in the different
I'm talking about
areas.
ongoing road projects
And
that need to be done.
I'm going to point you to the cost of the capital investment needed on the front side to allow for these rural areas to be developed, even at a low density. And the fact is, if I have to build miles of road and I can only spread the cost of those miles on a few properties with a few people in them because they're a rural environment, then it does generate a higher cost per person on the front side.
I understand that. You're missing my point. My point is the demand from the more urban areas is a lot higher than the folks in the rural areas. So therefore, I mean, you go ask people that travel Meadow Point Boulevard every day.
If I may, I think to your point, Commissioner, and this gets into these volume and capacity ratios, right? If I live in an urban area, and I'm used to driving in a suburban area with a road at 80% capacity, if it's at 105% capacity, I'm going to be complaining about it. Even if it's at 110% capacity, I'm going to be complaining about it. Versus your rural needs at 75% or even less capacity, you're right, they're not going to complain. They're not going to complain. The average driver will probably complain at a V over C ratio of anything short of level of service A or B, you know, which is like free flow traffic. And I've seen it. And when you compare traffic in different areas, you know, to your point, you're not wrong, but I think we're taking what people, what people are,
Well,
but
different.
here's where I'm going.
We go back to the PVAS and we can charge the
But-
people on their head.
But where we're going with this, the
See who gets the
decision,
roof.
the decisions that you know, that Nick and the team have to make are, what is our target? What are we shooting at? Are we willing to live with 105%, or do we want to cut that back a little bit? You know, so if we were in Wesley Chapel, for example, which is a suburban area, correct?
The urban,
Is it urban, suburban?
the urban core.
Currently urban. 105%, we may be sitting at that. And quite honestly, they probably will complain and hate that. They might not, I don't know. But, you know, at the end of the day, we kind of have to settle on what level of congestion are we willing to live with.
I want to say something about Wesley Chapel. That area, I was out there on Saturday to go to dinner out there. I was backed up at least a half a mile on 75 waiting on the light on 56. I also see coming in the near future a project, I think it was King Ranch, but it could be another one, but it had 200 homes coming in it. And I get off and get on 56, I'm going to the west there, and this project I'm talking about is not very far from there. How do you add those developments without a huge impact on that road because it's already over capacity? Because it was bumper to bumper on 6 lanes. We're not going to add 2 and 4 more lanes to 56, I don't believe, so, or if we can.
It would lead to some of those new roads, Commissioner, you know, relievers, alternatives, alternative routes. Commissioner's basically talking about, you know, we're at capacity in some roads, and especially some facilities that may already be at 6 lanes. You know, that's where you come up with parallel relievers.
And some of 54 that's being redone right now will help that, I'm sure.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But I think what Nick's point here is when it comes to allocating the cost, you look at what the need is and that density, and it does become a very simple formula, but that's just to maintain these averages. And I think later, Nick, we will talk about level of service and what type of, you know, V over C ratios, if you will. What are we willing to live with in terms of congestion, especially as it relates to charging people for new development? Because it's money, it's real money, and it's real expensive. But the cost to build a lane mile of road is the cost to build a lane mile of road, regardless of where we are in the county.
Can you go back to the map? Something that really, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Doesn't work.
Yeah.
All right, so to the rural part, when you have 100 people living in a development compared to 1,000 people in a development, and they gotta go just as many miles, it costs more to do rural, so I think that the numbers are okay there. I think part of the problem we're having is frankly, I think we gotta look at going to 1.05% and just bring it to 1%. Because I don't think people are happy with the congestion they're getting. And then with the development we've had, all the apartments that have gone in, it's just clogging these roadways, and they can't be expanded anymore with the right-of-way we've got, other than really spending a lot of money, which we don't want to do. So I think between that and the other thing we need to look at, as far as we're going to make this transportation network better, is we can't take these transportation studies we're given at the dais to say, this is what the transportation study is, based upon the growth you've got and how it works. Because when we had people out in Wesley Chapel saying, our growth is okay, we can take this, and I got people standing out front saying, I'm jammed in traffic. So obviously what you're looking for data, what we're getting for data, is not correlating to what is actually in reality. That's one of the things we need to change as well as we look at this.
So I'm hearing you say, talking about just the validity of the traffic studies that are presented to
It's
you,
garbage.
that you believe that they don't account for reality in a lot of cases. Okay.
Okay, my question. Looking at this map, the dashed lines are the roads that we want to, we plan to add?
I think Nick,
That's correct. Those are the vision roads that are not yet constructed.
Okay. it's glaring to me that if you live north of 52, pretty much the only way you can go east and west is either on 52 or County Line. There are gonna be parking lots. Well, we already seen that at 52 in Bellamy, right? Every time I see the news there, and they show the map, it's red on 52 in Bellamy. So we have no Vision Road going east, west, anywhere north of 52? Is that
Yeah,
what
you
that
have a-
Ayers Road
you have
was
different-
about?
You have different roads going east.
There's
west.
nothing on here. That's,
You got St. Joe, you have Darby.
well, why
You got
is it
St.
not
Joe,
on
you
here
got
then?
Darby.
Okay, why is there nothing
We
here?
didn't do that map.
So
know.
this map,
I'm
this
asking-
map is,
I'm asking. Hey, it's your- it's
Nick,
not my
Nick, why don't we
district,
talk
but
about the
I feel
limitations of
pain
this
to those
map, when it
people.
was developed, what it represents?
That's Hernando that's causing that pain.
Well, we
So-
need our own people to be able to go east and west and not have to come
Well, we
down
have
to
roads
52.
in there.
For clarity, and I apologize for not providing really any labels on this map.
Well, I know what that road is.
This is Bellamy Road.
Right.
And so when you talk about St. Joe and Darby, it's these two, or this corridor here is Darby, and then you've got
Right.
St. Joe.
And what's to the left of that?
And really, we just have the one Vision Road
That's
to the
horrible.
west.
That's a ranch, it's ranch.
What's why can't you put something north of there? I mean, I don't know where's Ayers Road? I know that.
Okay,
Way up.
So-
In Hernando County.
Ayers Road, when you look at County Line Road from Shady Hills east to the Sun Coast, as it goes east of the Sun Coast within Hernando County, it actually makes an S curve and it hits 41 right around here, just north of the county line. That's Ayers Road, and that's been widened it's been constructed within Hernando County as a 4-lane divided roadway up to US 41. And the DOT, which you heard, some of you heard at the MPO last week,
Yeah.
the DOT has been asked to perform a feasibility study to extend Ayers Road from US 41 east all the way to the I-75 corridor, and they've identified a terminal point at Blanton Road here in northern Pasco as a potential eastern
Okay, I was
connecting
just
point.
looking at that.
But the majority of that roadway would be constructed within Hernando County.
So we have nothing
Well,
planned.
As I am reminded, don't forget too, that you've got the crossbar well field taking up about,
Does it go all the way to the county line?
Keith, do you know the
Albar's
extent
up
of it?
there.
No, but it's approximately 13,000 acres, pretty much right
That sounds
between
great.
41 and Bellamy Brothers, to the west, going west towards 41.
It just seems that someone should have a vision to put a road in there.
Well, I think we
At
are
some point.
in the midst of redeveloping the comprehensive plan and taking a look at that, so.
You sure don't want to come all the way down to 52.
Yeah.
Commissioner
And,
Mayor.
and I agree with that, something going in the middle of the county for that area going across. But let's go, let's touch County Line Road, Rick. I appreciate that explanation. I think County Line Road, if anything's gonna connect out to 75, it should be that thing coming all the way straight across.
But they're still-
So I don't know why we're messing around with the Ayers Road. They had a choice, Hernando County had a choice to do the extension to 41 on County Line Road and across. They chose to go up there for the development. I don't think we should be catering to development, I don't think DOT should be either. That should be straight coming across, hitting to 75. I think that's worthy of discussion for
Is
us.
that a developer request to do Ayers?
I'm sure,
instead of
well, I don't know,
County
I don't know. I'm just saying, Nick's explanation right there shows me why that process is not a good one to go. Go straight across County Line Road towards 75 to where it's got to bend down and connect, but that's where it should be going.
So I'm just saying.
No, these are
I
great-
mean,
this
grids
is
and
very helpful
connect-
feedback.
Grids are good. And we don't, that's a huge glaring issue right there.
One more thought, too.
Yeah.
And before they actually put that into their plan, whatever they do on that side of Ayers Road, they need to finish County Line Road out to 41 anyway.
You mean
Period.
finish
Before
County Line
DOT
Road?
Before DOT does that extension to 75, that's more important to finish County Line Road going across the border all the way through as far as it's going to go.
You mean widen County Line
To
Road
widen
west
County
of
Line,
Suncoast
yes. To
Parkway?
finish it, yes.
Sure, and we do have a project to widen the piece of County Line Road from Shady Hills / Mariner and Hernando County to Suncoast Parkway to 4 lanes. That's moving forward, design is underway, right-of-way acquisition is funded in part, and we will fund construction in the next 5 to 7 years.
Okay, so 5 to 7 years, but they're talking about the other extension. But
And
that should
that's-
go all the way to 41 anyway, not to stop at Suncoast, right to 41.
Well, and again, the piece within Hernando County is a 4-lane road already on the east side of Suncoast Parkway to US 41.
Ayers Road.
Ayers Road.
Yeah.
I'm
That's
talking
right.
about going straight across.
Yeah.
Okay, I hear you. That's a significant revision to the way the roadway network was constructed in our partner county to the north. But I'm happy to investigate.
They did
How-
what they wanted to do for the developer, that's okay, that's their choice. I'm just saying,
Sure.
if we're gonna get DOT money, they're gonna even talk about coming to our county, they need to finish that before you can have that discussion.
Well, and I would like to remind the board that County Line Road is a unique corridor in Pasco. We have two of them, this one and County Line Road South, which are partially owned by us and partially owned by our neighbors. And so the fact that DOT is involved at all is kind of a
Yes.
favor to be, they are playing a neutral mediator for the two counties because they don't have a dog in the fight. These are not state corridors. The fact that they're doing Ayers Road at all is only because a member of the state legislature said, do the feasibility study. And that's how that got funded
I think we need a
as a
letter
state
back.
project.
I think we need a letter back saying we wanna see County Line going straight across all the way to 41, and then we wanna come to the table to see how it connects to 75.
Okay, Mike, protocol and whatnot, I can certainly provide that feedback to DOT as part of the Ayers Road extension study, is that we would like to see a corridor, either as the county engineer based on this discussion, or if we need to have a board letter.
Especially because they need
Whichever way
to
is
use
best.
our land coming into 75 later. They
Sure.
need to go fix this thing first and start it incrementally going where it's supposed to go.
And I think to combine the two comments between Commissioner Mariano and Commissioner Starkey, what I'm hearing is we need a northern cap to an east-west corridor, and we need to investigate another east-west corridor between 52 and County Line Road as part of our comp plan update. I
Maybe
can't
way
guarantee
in
we
the
can do
future,
it because
but-
we have significant obstacles. Same thing as, I'm going to mention this, and then I'm probably going to kick myself for saying it.
Don't.
We-
Need to listen to that.
It's a workshop.
We have
It's a workshop.
challenges in the middle of the county as well. That the whole concept of extending Ridge/Connerton
Yeah.
over to Old Pasco is a significant environmental obstacle.
Yeah, it is.
And so, it's not an easy thing to do, but we will look at both north and south, and if there is a feasible way to put a line on the map, we hear you.
And if I
Okay,
may, real quick.
All right, and after
Chair.
that, then Commissioner Wade.
I think this conversation is certainly timely, because I think as you look at Pasco County and the way we've developed over the years, our primary focus has been the south central portion, and that's where a lot of our dollars and efforts have been at. And so I think it's really important that we get this feedback and input from the board in terms of kind of formulating what does the next phase of Pasco look like as we continue to grow, further and further to the north. And so we appreciate all the comments.
Commissioner Wade.
Well, it'd just be nice to figure, obviously, a lot of this work that we're trying to figure out is to accommodate our neighbor to the north, right? So it'd be nice if we understood, if we're going to invest our taxpayers' money to accommodate people who don't live in this county, I really think we need to understand what their growth situation is in Hernando. We probably really need to understand what their future roads look like and how they can become, their southern portion of their county and our northern of our county can somewhat complement each other, because then we'll end up, potentially at impasses and just everybody's frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's a ability for administrations to collaborate there.
Or
it'd be
maybe we have a
kinda
joint
nice.
commission meeting.
We can look at,
With Fernando.
similar to how we're working regionally with our neighbors to the south, perhaps a similar model to the north. Understood.
I don't
Not
necessarily,
as frequent, but maybe.
I think it'd be good for starters to have the professional staff get together first.
And Commissioners, I want to make you aware, we had a meeting earlier this week, a collaboration meeting with Hernando County about the funding strategy to widen County Line Road. So we are talking about how to partner effectively on that corridor. I think what you're suggesting is we also need to partner with them on the north-south roads. That's a heavier lift because those are Pasco County roads entirely. They're not shared responsibilities between us and Hernando, and Hernando basically says they're your roads, you should fund them. I will put a caveat to that. The one way that we can fund, and I'll talk about Shady Hills for just a moment. The one way we can seek regional investments in a corridor like that that is owned by Pasco County is through the DOT's, the Florida DOT's grant funding programs that are available to the county, whether they're county incentive grants or transportation regional incentive program grants. Those are state gas taxes and vehicle registration fees and sometimes dock stamps that are paid into the statewide transportation trust fund. So Hernando County residents contribute. Hernando County Growth contributes to that pot of money, and then that pot is made available to counties within District 7 for roads just like Shady Hills that run parallel to the Suncoast Parkway,
Talking
rather.
about Shady Hills with that program.
And yes, and that's why I bring it up, is because that is a regional funding pot, if you will, that we can avail ourselves of. It's not huge, but it's something. It's better than zero, and it allows us to buy down some of the cost of constructing a big project like Shady Hills in a rural context, which, if we jump back to the transportation needs table, I only have 25,000 people predicted to come to live in the rural areas of Pasco County. So I can't put the cost of rural infrastructure on just that small population, which goes back to Commissioner Waitman's comment. Why are we charging so much in rural areas? Because there aren't that many people, but we still need $750 million of infrastructure to support them.
Commissioner Waitman.
So here's my that causes me angst. Hernando County's building their Wesley Chapel along State Road 50, and all those folks are going to come south. So anybody who wants to live in northeast rural or along some of the more rural corridors is going to be footing the bill for the urban development to the county to the north, and that's not right. Folks choose to live in a rural setting for a reason. They don't necessarily want everything perfect, and they don't necessarily want the best roads, but the people who live in urban areas want their roads pristine. They want to get to and from and get out of traffic, and if it means an extra lane, they're probably willing to pay for it. So the paradigm, I'm just somewhat on the opposite side of the fence on this as far as what we think folks need and what folks actually want. So,
I think that people in northern Hillsborough around Odessa.
was gonna say Gun
and
Highway.
Gun Highway would say the same thing to us, that they're in the rural part of Hillsborough,
Yeah,
northern
yeah.
Hillsborough County, and here comes
yep.
Pasco County snaking down Gun Highway to get to work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay,
But it sort of self-regulates in a way because people are kind of forced to use the veterans in most cases because
Yeah.
it's still a two-lane facility, but
but
it's still,
boy, the veterans
it's still
getting
bad.
crowded.
Well, and I was just going to close that loop by saying part of the reason that the Turnpike Authority, who manages the Suncoast Parkway within Pasco, is looking at widening the Suncoast Parkway is because of growth both in Pasco and Hernando County that's
That's
attracted
interesting.
to the Tampa Bay
Coming down.
employment centers. Yeah, so they are carrying that water by investing in additional capacity on that corridor, where our job is to focus on the county arterial and collective roadways within Pasco and trying to ensure that we've provided that quality of service to our residents.
Madam Chair?
Yep.
Nick, on that point, I've had discussions now for the past year, and we're actually going to look at some things on 54. What are they doing about park and rides all the way from Hernando all the way down? Because those bridges down in Hillsborough County, you can't expand those things, or it's going to cost you a fortune, it'll take a long time. But if you get trips off by having buses going up and down to the airport, et cetera, it's going to save a lot of traffic. Have they talked about anything to the north?
So that's a complicated question, and I'll give you my 2 cents, and then I'm sure there are other voices that you should hear from. First is transit operators need to have a vision for the corridors that they want to serve, and then they need to implement their vision through local land development regulations that require set-asides for park and ride facilities. So you have to have a designated operator who would serve those park and ride facilities in order to say, let's make that land set-aside happen. And then the second one is, the Turnpike is happy to accommodate and even make reasonable accommodations for reduction in fees, whatnot, elimination of any tolls for the transit vehicles. They're just not going to be, they're not an operator. So we've got to either figure out, is it Go Pasco? Is it some sort of Tampa Bay Regional Transit Authority? Is it some partnership between Pasco and Hernando Transit where we would try to accommodate a service like that? So it's land development regulations, vision by a transit operator, and then a funding plan ultimately
It's more
to
than
service that.
But it's still more than that. They've got land where the old lanes now verge out to the side that sits right there, with now the
Sure.
headquarters, whatever, that's the place it should be a
At the
parking
prior
lot.
toll facilities, yeah.
That's where the parking lot should be, but they say their rules keep them from doing it.
Well, they
So they-
won't construct that, but if we have a transit operation plan with a funding strategy that includes construction of a park and ride facility at that location, then I think they would be amenable to offering that land to us. But we need to have a plan, a funding strategy, and, you know, a way to pay for capital and operating costs for a transit service like that.
If you can get that in writing, that'd be great, because I've had conversations that give me the opposite.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, so we are on, you did the estimation of
Slide 8.
transportation. Okay, we're still on,
I think I can move to the next one,
That's what I was
because
thinking.
this is an important slide, because it shows you the estimated revenues available to pay for that $6.9 billion need. So we have essentially 5 legs to the stool, if you will, and one of the first leg is the federal and state revenues that are allocated towards transportation projects within Pasco County. Reminder, federal revenues are fixed at 18.4 cents per gallon. That is not an indexed gas tax rate. It is a flat rate. It hasn't changed in decades. The state has a combination of flat and indexed gas taxes, as well as paying for some of transportation capital funding needs through dock stamps and vehicle registration fees and vehicle license or driver license fees. Those roads, as a reminder, are selected by the MPO and/or DOT. It's a partnership between the MPO board and the District 7 staff. And that's a prediction of 700, give or take, 700 million in revenue. Penny for Pasco sales tax, you're all familiar with this, but just for the public, it is a 1 cent sales tax. 45% of the revenue collected goes to the county. 40% of that revenue, the county's share of the revenue, goes to transportation capital projects. And those are primarily bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure projects that were identified in the 2022 board resolution authorizing the ballot initiative for the new era generation of the sales tax. And then some categories that were established in the board resolution in 2022 as well. So $862 million there. Most of that goes to bicycle pedestrian infrastructure. A small portion of it is available for additional road capacity. I mentioned earlier you have a second local option gas tax. That's 5 cents per gallon. You also, within state law, you can levy up to 12 cents per gallon in local option gas tax. Pasco has levied the full 12 cents. 7 of it goes to operations and maintenance of our transportation system. 5 of the 12 cents goes to transportation capital projects. So that is a revenue stream available to us, but it is a revenue stream that is declining in purchasing power because it is not indexed and because people are driving more fuel-efficient vehicles. So you look at the amount of revenue we generate from that gas tax over the next 25 years, and it's not large. The tax increment fund is about 15% of the increment, and of that increment, of that property tax increment from the base year of 2012, about 55% of that revenue goes to transportation capital projects, to road capacity projects that are selected annually through the capital programming process by the commission. That generates about $1.2 billion over the next 25 years. And then the last component is the mobility fees, and at current mobility fee rates applied to the forecasted growth in the next 25 years, the mobility fees will generate about $1 billion, which means your total revenue is at about $4 billion. But again, you need $6.9 billion. So we have a shortfall of about $2.9 billion. Showing that again in a very simple way, this is the need, and the pie chart shows the total need with the components of the revenue shown as pieces of the pie, and the shortfall highlighted here. Looking at the actual fee amounts that we charge for the main categories of uses, I mentioned earlier we charge about $9,600 for a single-family residential home in a suburban context. We charge about $8,400 for a multifamily apartment. Retail per 1,000 square feet pays around $10,500 today. And then office and industrial are both subsidized at 100% as an economic growth incentive to attract those kinds of employers to Pasco County. And I want to mention any reduction in the amount that we are able to charge. So when you see these current subsidy percentages on the slide here, any reduction that we are providing is currently made up from other revenue sources. So we're either filling that gap, paying that subsidy with TIF, or we're paying it with gas tax. We have historically fully funded the transportation need that is identified in each of our previous mobility fee update studies.
Madam Chair,
Yep,
I'm looking at this multifamily apartment current subsidy 6%.
Yeah.
We voted to get rid of those subsidies. What happened?
That's a good history question that I might have to defer to either our county attorney or our consultant. But
Couple years ago, yeah.
I think the answer is essentially, we were supposed to get rid of them, but in order to, you fill in the gap, Bill. Bill Oliver is our mobility fee consultant, and he has more history to this than
Yeah.
I do.
So, yeah, right. And there was an intent to completely eliminate
It
the
was a vote.
subsidies.
It wasn't intent, it was a vote,
Right, it was.
not intent.
But what also happened after that was the state passed some laws that capped the rates at which we can increase fees. And because we could not increase the multifamily fees by more than the state prescribed limit, the 25% over 2 years or 50% over 4 years, we ended up having to toss in a little bit of subsidy to support that.
what were we at before? So you, so. so-
Zero. The intent was zero.
Well, I know, but when you said you went with a little bit, what were we, did you reduce it to 6% or increase it, whatever the right?
Yeah, it used to be zero. You did not want to subsidize
No, what was it
apartment
before
rental.
we said we wanted to go to zero?
Oh, my goodness.
Because you just said that we weren't able to do everything that we wanted, but we got to.
Oh,
What
right,
I
no.
understood you saying-
We did go to 0% subsidy for a brief while. Then, in a subsequent update, the state law capped the rate at which we could increase the fees, so we had to come back with that 6%
So what I'm
subsidy.
asking you was, what was the number before we went to
Were
zero?
you at
and then to
100%
6?
subsidy originally?
Yes.
100%?
Oh, no.
Not in apartments,
No.
That's the question, is what that subsidy was.
Before we went
Before the
to
vote.
0%.
Prior to
Right.
21.
Yeah. Offhand, I don't remember. It was probably in the 30 to 40% range,
It
just
was
to
similar to all
guess.
other residential, it was probably similar, single-family residential, probably about 30%.
So
I didn't
if they
know if
capped
subsidized.
the amount that we could change the rate, how long is that period of time we can change the rate?
The issue is you can only update your fees every 4 years. So what Bill is describing is that, yes, the board voted to make a 0% subsidy in that year, but over the 4 years, we lost the ability to keep it at 0% because the fees would have had to have gone up to keep up with the 0% subsidy, if that makes sense. You
It
can't.
does. So the next question is, when is the 4-year number coming up that we can actually get this?
Now,
That's why we're here.
update
Yeah.
now. So we can readjust
So
it
that's
to
the first
0%
motion.
now.
Well,
All
get
right.
the motions.
Yeah, we
So
got a
we-
couple.
The answer to your question is, we can adjust that back to 0% as part of this update.
Perfect.
What is not on here is the subsidy we have for hotels. So why is that not listed here?
It's not
Because
listed
I've always had
because,
a problem.
because these 5 categories make up 98 to 99% of the mobility fee revenue that we anticipate collecting. But you're right, hotels are also subsidized at 100%. They just don't significantly move the needle with respect to revenue.
And what I'm all for hotels, but what I see happening with the hotels, because I have friends that have bought into and built some of these, is that they immediately flip them because they're putting that mobility fee delta, that value in their pocket when they sell them. Yes, so they're very valuable to build and flip.
Madam Chair?
That's why I think we should fix that, yeah.
They may be valuable, but I'll tell you what they bring is they bring people that are gonna spend money that don't use services. It increases the money that's coming into this county, and hotels are a great thing for us.
I think we
Whether
should
they make
tweak that
money or
number.
not.
I
Whether
think
they
we
make
should
money or not.
tweak that number. I don't think they need 100%.
I wouldn't change it for, keep it 0.
People making money off of us.
So-
All right,
What about the single family?
yeah, are we, well, we're
gonna
gonna
get
come
into
back to
options.
this?
Yes,
Okay,
we will.
here go.
I just wanted to make sure the board understands, why do we have such a significant gap between the predicted revenue and the predicted need? And because historically, we haven't had a huge gap. Why is it so large right now? And I think the first point is we're predicting a lot more people. In 2021, our study assumed only 230,000 people, so we were only predicting the cost associated with transportation facilities for 230,000 people. Now we're predicting nearly 330,000 more people from today, and that is 43% more than we were previously trying to accommodate. The second thing is our 2021 study was based on current cost to build roads, and it said it was going to be around $384 per person mile of capacity. Right now, based on the road prices that we're seeing in bids and developer projects, it's around $504 per person mile of capacity, 30% increase in cost. So bottom line from this is we're building more and it costs more to build it. The third component is our federal and local gas tax revenues. I mentioned this earlier. They're flat versus inflation, and that means they lose their value over time. And then the last point on this slide is that our TIF funding percentages for transportation have been declining over the past 4 years, but that's because they were only meeting the target amount of TIF funding from our 2021 mobility fee study. So that we carried that out into the forecast and said we're going to continue on that same trajectory, which frankly allows you to spend more of your general fund revenues on government services for the people who are moving here and expecting that quality of life that Pasco is providing.
Madam Chair, there is also another element to this discussion, and it's also the time element. So our population forecast to 2050 is front-end loaded over the next 15 years. Our pace of development now is very brisk, and we have a moderating trend in the 2040s. So as well as the financial gap, we also have a time gap because we have to bring forward a lot of road improvements in the short order versus projecting them out to 2050. So we have that challenge as well.
Now we get into the options, and this is really trying to facilitate board discussion on these various fee components, or the fees for associated land use. And we wanted to talk primarily about the first option. We were going to talk about the retail, office, and industrial land uses. Just as a benchmark, we're showing you the predicted level of development over the next 25 years, 20 million square feet of retail, 27 million square feet of office, and nearly 40 million square feet of industrial is planned for, based on our current land uses and Florida area ratios and estimates and whatnot, planned to come to Pasco County. So option one has a discussion about adjusting the retail incentive. If we were to maintain our current fee, which is $10,500 per thousand square foot, then we would be incentivizing that at a level of 79%. So that would be a 79% reduction in the fee that we can justify by the costs and growth of this population and need study. So if we wanted to charge the full amount for retail development, then it would be closer to $50,000 per thousand square feet. That's a significant increase above the existing rate, but that's the component of the retail demand that is associated with our overall transportation need.
Madam Chair?
Yeah.
Stand that point for a second. So you're telling me based upon these numbers here, that's what the revenues are, but are you factoring in that if you do raise up these things from 50% to no incentive at all, that there's going to be reduced demand to actually build these things, or are you keeping demand constant?
So I'm going to go back to the, I'm going to go back.
We
to
don't
my
know what the
comment.
elasticity of demand is.
Demand or ability.
So, we actually had an economist look at this. I don't know if you remember this, Commissioner, but we had an economist look at this. The only land uses where there might be some impact on demand from fees is office industrial. That, we had Fishkind actually study this for our fees, and he concluded that for residential, retail, I'm not sure where he landed on hotel, but for residential retail, that it wasn't going to impact the rate of growth. The fees were not going to impact the rate of growth. Office industrial, it might, because office industrial can locate anywhere, so if they can pay lower fees in Hernando, they're going to locate in Hernando. But residential retail is probably not going to affect the rate of growth.
Well, I'm telling you, what the effect would be, maybe not in the big guys, but the small mom and
Well,
pops.
so what Nick did not mention is that we have a separate rate for locally owned small business, which the board created in 2021. And those rates are, I think, 25% of these rates.
Okay, but they're not part of
But-
this.
But we have a
And David
lot-
Ingles' team monitor, they implement that
All right,
program.
so it's not part of what the options are given to us here, they're just gonna stay.
But you could assume that any,
Proposed to stay, are they proposed to stay the same for the small mom and pop?
I think you could assume that, yes, that
Yeah.
locally owned small business rates would be 25% of whatever, we continue those at 25% of whatever rates you come up with for retail.
Okay.
However, old businesses, like a remodeled, already built businesses, don't pay a new impact fee. So it would probably incentivize some redevelopment of the older stuff, right? At what point, so if you buy an old gas station and you knock it down and turn it into a coffee shop or whatever, do they pay a new mobility fee?
No.
Or do they?
It depends.
Potentially.
Only if it was a higher trip generator, they might, but generally, no.
They pay for the increase, yeah.
Yes.
The increase in impact is what they're obligated to
So it's a
mitigate.
percentage.
And if they're in the West Market area,
So
they
it could
don't pay
spur some
anything.
redevelopment of some of our older stuff. It's not a bad thing. Commissioner Yeager.
If they're in the West Market area, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, go
I
ahead.
just want to answer the question. If they're in the West Market area, any redevelopment does not pay an increased fee
We're
at
gonna
all.
have to talk about Hudson Grove. Thank you.
Okay, so just curious, for the other counties, what do their fees look like for these businesses?
I don't have that information at my fingertips.
Okay, I'd love to know it.
It's
just
a little complicated because retail is subdivided into a number of categories, and we're using a very simplified approach to presenting this for order of magnitude purposes. But we can show you that content.
Okay, I just feel like, we're the lucky ones that have the land. And, if we can get more fees out of them, that would be great. But I don't want the small businesses to feel the brunt of that.
Well, and Madam Chair, I think to David Ingles' point and to David Goldstein's point, we intend to continue the the locally owned small business system that the commission previously has put in place. So we would not be putting a heavy burden on locally owned small businesses to fund transportation infrastructure. We're really looking at the larger retailers that are moving into Pasco to support the residential growth and
So
development.
how does that rule work, just so we all know, with the local small businesses?
That's something that-
So, back in January 1st, 2022, the board adopted previously, but it went into effect, a locally owned small business incentive reduction program. So the board directed us to reduce the fees, which was approximately, I believe, about 50% of the retail pace, as long as the business didn't have an excess of 25 employees and the owner lived within the region, multiple county region, and it couldn't be a national chain. So when small businesses come into building and construction services for the permitting, they come to us, we qualify them at the Office of Economic Growth, and they pay the reduced fee.
Does the planning department or central permitting send them to you? I mean,
Yes.
how do they know to go to you? Because most small businesses aren't going to know that.
Well, the individuals that process the building permit applications and do the fee estimates,
Yeah.
they screen the applicant.
Okay.
And they'll ask, and then
Yep.
if it looks like they could qualify, they send them over to us for a formal qualification.
Okay?
And candidly, Commissioner, back to Commissioner Mariano's question about the elasticity of the fees and the impact on demand. We essentially believe that retail is going to follow rooftops, and that's what we put down here in the analysis, that these national retailers are going to come, and these even statewide retailers, I don't know, there's a company based out of Lakeland that tends to open a lot of storefronts in residential suburban development. They're going to come, whether
And it
we
starts with the letter
like
P.
it or not.
So that is one of the reasons why I asked, because my in-laws live in Polk, and I mean, there's a ton of large businesses coming there, so I want to make sure that, like, they're paying their fair share in Pasco County.
Sure.
Yeah.
And the retail also follows the jobs, so we have two things that are drawing them in here.
Okay, Commissioner Waitman.
Yes, so for the local business fees, with just the expense of the world, insurance, they're going up 10% a year on their tax bill. I would not be opposed to lowering their fee under that 25. I think we can take a look at it and recalibrate it, but I would like to find a way to lower from the 25%, just because of all the other outside factors of expense in starting a business today, and really give our local mom and pop shops, you know, let it be known that they can be competitive here and they stand a chance, because market today versus what it was 2 years ago is completely different.
And Madam Chair, if I would.
Yeah.
You've done the heavy lift of establishing the criteria for locally owned small businesses. If you wanted to just allow the fee rates themselves to persist into this fee update in order to ensure that these locally owned small businesses are not harmed by the update, I don't think we would have any concern with that approach. That's really, it's not a move the needle component to funding the shortfall, and we'd love to be able to take that off the table.
Not for us, but for them.
Right,
For them.
and we want to make sure that these local companies are adequately protected, insulated from any increase that is appropriate for the external retailers coming in.
Decreasing it.
Sure, and I'm, okay.
To what it was 2 years ago or less, right? Because the cost today is higher than what it was several years ago. So, I mean.
So a parallel reduction in a percentage
Yeah.
to match, yeah, okay, understood.
Madam Chair?
Commissioner Mariano?
And I'd say, I don't even mind going further than that, because, you know, if you travel around different areas around the country, you'll see that some areas are just loaded with small mom and pops, and it's kind of a neat place.
Yeah.
And I think it builds
Downtown
character.
Newport Richey.
So if we're gonna go and kind of look at that and make a shift, I think a good shift is for the mom and pops. And if we can even favor them a little bit more, I think it's gonna cost us a lot of money. And when you get those mom and pops, I know from years growing up in a small town, that the local businesses support everything around. And, you know, running several golf tournaments, et cetera, you try to go get money from the big guys, it's hard.
Yeah. Well, we
The
pay in
small-
our, we
the small-
support in our corporate home office.
Exactly, but the
areas,
small
yeah.
group, they'll throw in every time, all over the place. So I think it's worthy of looking, and if we change the culture of Pasco a little bit, going that way a little further, that's not a bad message, I don't think.
Sold me.
Hey, I started one, so.
Okay.
Well, I guess assuming we're able to reduce the locally owned small business, could we get some feedback on how you want us to handle retail? The ones that are not locally owned small business, the McDonald's, the large scale
doing so well,
retailers that we
those
get. I mean, 95% of the retailers we get in Pasco are not locally owned small business, so we still need to know how we're going to treat those.
Well, let's go through all the options,
Okay.
because remember, we have a shortfall. Okay.
Sure. And again, we put three scenarios on there. We said, hey, you can retain your current fee rates, you can increase to half of what the allowable amount for this study would be, or you could go all the way to the maximum allowable amount, which would be the 49,000 per 1,000 square feet.
Wait,
So those are your three categories. kind
are
of
we
scenarios.
allowed to? What are,
So there is
what does
a,
Tallahassee?
so
don't
there is
we
a,
have
there was a
cap?
change to the state law.
Yeah.
So this would be appropriate time to mention it. As of January 1st, if you're going to increase any fee by more than 50%, it requires you to declare extraordinary circumstances, but most importantly, it requires a unanimous vote of the board. So, for example, for retail, if you were going to increase the fee by, say, to more than
$5,000.
more than $5,000, it's going to require a unanimous vote of the board. You can do it, and it's got to be phased in over 4 years, which we'd probably do anyway. But the important thing is that all 5 of you would have to agree to it. So if any of you have concerns with that, it'd be good for you to tell us that now.
Really good to know.
I just would love my question answered.
Sure.
Just to weigh in on that, for that decision.
So how do you want us to tackle this? Do you want us to, are you gonna go through all these different scenarios and then we go back to them? Or, I mean, how much do you guys feel we need to
let me-
make up?
Yeah,
to be
thank you, ma'am. So
in a good
Nick, let me
position?
ask you a question here. So these various options, these are to address, for example, we go half green, half red here on your picture, you know, and I don't know if that's by design or just, if there's an actual number associated with that. Does this assume that if you implemented option C across the board, that we make up that shortfall? I'm trying to,
Yeah,
to the boards,
right. That's right.
Okay.
So we've essentially got a slide that talks about non-residential fees. We have a second slide that talks about residential fees. We have a third slide that talks about, well, what if we choose to build less roadways? What if we calibrate our service levels and construct less than we reduce our need? And then we have a fourth slide that says, help us find the middle ground.
And so, Commissioner, I think these options, it's not an either or. This is, and so Nick, maybe it is appropriate to talk about how does the board feel about non-residential incentives at this time? Because your next slide is going to be looking at residential
That's right.
incentives. So I think it's appropriate that we kind of gauge the board's temperature on how do you feel about retail today? How do we feel about office and industrial incentives? And we can take that information back, recognizing that just even to get to, the current incentive is you're subsidizing 80% of retail.
Yeah, so
That's a big number.
I have no doubt that this board is going to figure out today how to 100% fund that children. 100%. That can will be kicked partially.
That can will be
down
kicked,
the
well,
road.
because one of Nick's other options, ma'am,
This is too painful.
is to look at kind of accepting a certain level of congestion
Yeah.
in certain areas,
But
right?
we have to do something.
Or a stepwise approach,
Right.
which is probably where we need to go. So, the question for the board here is looking at non-residential incentives, where do you want to dip your toe in the water, so to speak? Is it at office and industrial incentives? Is it, reducing that incentive currently to retail? Because these subsidies are made up primarily with your TIF and other things, and those affect your general fund.
And let me add to office industrial, because that fee is currently 0, to even raise it $1, we need a unanimous vote
Okay.
because of the way the state law works. So if even one of you have a concern about raising it $1, we need to know that.
Commissioner Mariano has a question, and then Commissioner Wheaton.
So I'm going to say, listening to everything I've heard, especially where we can actually take care of small business even a better way, I'm comfortable going with the no incentive for the retail. And I think it'll do two things. Retail's coming, it's coming. If not, it's going to even strengthen the other retail's revenues that are here anyway. It should minimize traffic to some way. When it gets to the office and industrial, I don't want to change that, because if I get someone building offices, they're bringing jobs. If I get industrial, which we need, we are at a deficit, that creates jobs as well.
I would just point out, Commissioner, that we're the only county in the region that it fully incentivizes office and industrial.
That's what I want to be.
Madam Chair, if I could, I do want to respond to the comment on office. The only other piece of information I want, and I see commissioners want to weigh in too. I want you to know that there are 2 other tools in the toolkit that we would suggest to you are very helpful
Yes.
in attracting employers to Pasco County. One is using your penny for Pasco economic development revenues to buy down the cost of moving them here. The other is giving them property tax reimbursements to buy down the upfront cost of relocating or remaining in Pasco County. Those are both targeted tools that are available to you for specific deals that you deem valuable, as opposed to a blanket exception for all in office and industrial.
This was similar to the board discussion on the fire impact fee. We
Yeah.
raised that on commercial, the concern, Commissioner, you raised the same concern. But again, we laid that if you find a targeted industry, the board always has the purview to incentivize through various tools.
Yeah.
So, if we incentivize, if we pay for the mobility fee, we're in this discussion. So what you're saying is if the county paid for the mobility fees through the penny, but we got a structural building, we're still ahead, right?
Yeah.
So I have a comment. So my comment is I feel like we shouldn't be incentivizing because, again, we have the land in other counties, they're not doing that. And they're still coming, they're still building. We're just not getting the money for it. So, and we have a huge deficit. So, I mean, if other counties, they're coming, getting the money, we should be getting our money too. So, and I don't think it's gonna slow down our growth because, again, we're the ones that have the space.
Well, the board could address it on a case-by-case basis. If they have a project that they're considering incentivizing, you could waive the mobility impact fees as part of that package. If it's an attractive use you want to.
To be clear, David, we don't waive them, we pay them from another
Or
source.
penny
Okay.
for Pasco, right?
Yes.
All right, Commissioner Waitman.
Thank you.
has
Yeah,
next.
so, Nick, you beat me to it. I was going to bring up the fire impact fee scenario on how to negotiate a deal. I think seemingly I think the elephant in the room is around the residential development. I think we need to understand how we want to structure and manage the residential development, which is impacting everything around us more so than our retail, industrial, and commercial uses. So I'm of the opinion of figuring out what we're going to do with residential first, and then understand how we want to address the job-creating opportunities that we have here with some level of Commissioner Mariano's comments, and then, with Nick talking about how we can negotiate on a case-by-case basis. I'll probably fall somewhere in the middle of those two scenarios. But the elephant in the room is on residential. I don't think we can, I think we need to address residential first and foremost before we tackle any of the job-creating zonings and entitlements that we have here.
If it pleases the board, we could have Nick move to that slide, and we can have that discussion, and then kind of back into the other things.
I had one more, I wanted to follow up on something David said, though. David, on that new law, you said, what is the percentage of impact fees it requires?
Anything above 50%.
Okay, does that readjust annually, or is that in the last 5 years, or? 'Cause-
It's your 50% of your current fee.
Okay, so every year, that's a new number.
No, you can only increase your fees every 4 years.
Oh, every 4 years.
You can't touch
Well,
your,
that was nice.
so every 4 years, you're allowed to increase your fees, so it's 50% of your current fee.
And so, David, by way of example, that 10,000, if we increased it by 50%, which is right, and the board made a finding and unanimously voted it'd be 15,000, but then that $5,000 increase is phased in over a 4-year
Yes,
period.
and then 4
presumably.
years from now, that is now your new base fee that you could increase by 50% in 4 years from now. Does that make sense?
I want to just tell you where I'm a little bit with Commissioner Yeager on the incentives for non-residential. I think
Okay,
I would adjust it a little bit.
maybe not zero, but something low.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just have one comment. I feel like our citizens are screaming for infrastructure, and they want these businesses to pay their share of it. And I think it's very important, because if not, the burden falls on them, and that's not fair. So if in other places they're able to get full pop, we can too. That's.
But while
that's how I
maintaining
feel.
your incentives for
Right,
small
while
locally owned
maintaining-
businesses.
a small business, absolutely. That's
Okay.
a completely different thing. And then if we do have this massive thing coming in, we can incentivize and put a deal together. That's where I'm at.
Commissioner Mariano, and then it's going to be Commissioner Oakley.
Thank you. Well, you want to let Commissioner Oakley go because he hasn't spoken yet? I don't
Go
mind.
ahead.
No, I don't respect that. Go ahead.
You've talked too much, or?
I want to hear from you.
Go
I
ahead,
want to hear
Oakley.
from you.
You got the.
But, all the developments of the residential that are coming in are, and we hear it every day in the Gmails and the emails that we get about infrastructure. No way to move it, backs up. But also part of that is our roadways that are due to be widened, like down south between 56 and 39 or 301. That's going to be widened. That'll help an issue we've had for quite a while, but it hasn't happened yet. So the waiting period is a long time for some of these things to happen. For infrastructure, especially mobility around the county and around these different developments, of people being able to move the right way to, do their business and actually make it more pleasurable rather than being in bumper traffic every time you turn around. So I mentioned it earlier, every development that I'm looking at right now is going to cost that infrastructure of roadways to have an issue. And it's not, Connected City came in when I first started, which was about 12, I'm in my 9th year. So about 7 years ago, it started. But it's taken a long time from then to now to some of these roads getting widened, like Curly being widened to handle some of this traffic. And the home's already here by the time you get mobility to improve the roads. So somehow we need to step up the improving of infrastructure a little quicker than what we're doing, because we're lagging behind, and because we're lagging behind, we've got all these traffic issues and people screaming and hollering, and accidents happening each and every day. So something we need to do about mobility. And
So am I hearing consensus from the board then to?
Hold on.
Oh, sorry, sir.
Thank you.
I'm just saying, you still want to go.
Oh, I still want to go.
All right.
So
Okay.
each one of these items is going to be individual vote, correct?
Pardon me?
Each one of these things is going to be unanimous.
To go over 50% increases.
To go
it
over
has to be
50%, you
unanimous.
can go 40%
So
without.
just to be clear, so as you consider residential as coming up to it, we still have most of our people commuting out of this county to go to work. That adds traffic, that adds time, it's quality of life. When we had John Hagan here with economic development, he was talking about different incentives, and I know we had state people saying, well, they're going to come here anyway, and it's not going to really make a difference. That's what, I'll just say, legislators were saying from Tallahassee. We studied, shouldn't be doing that. But when I talking to John on the podium, it could be 25%, it's a good incentive, looks good, looks like you want business to come. I says, but how about as far as like people having to calculate what's coming in, if they know the number's zero from mobility fees, don't you think it's going to strike it stronger? And he agreed with that. And I was very happy the board at the time voted to say no fees for office, no fees for industrial. And because it's going to take a unanimous vote to put you all at ease coming up, I'm not going to support any change, any increase, or any fees for the industrial or the office. So just keep that in mind as we're going to try to go forward.
But I don't think we are talking about a 50%.
I'm just talking, I want it zero.
And then, listen, there is no office market.
Then we got nothing, we're not losing revenue
I
anyway.
mean, right?
Then you're not losing money
There's
anyway.
no office market.
Then you're not losing revenue anyway.
Very, very little professional office.
I want the image out there that we're at zero for office and industrial. That's what I want him to, Bill Cronin and David to be able to sell. You're at zero.
Commissioner Oakley.
I know in the last 8 years, we have had a lot of development, a lot of people moving in, a lot of new houses coming, and they cause this issue on infrastructure. But at the same time, every time you see us putting in a development, you also see us putting in jobs somewhere near that development. I mean, it's happening. Double Branch is a big example of a lot of jobs coming in to a certain area. So, I mean, it's important to bring jobs, and I think in most of them, in my tenure as being here, I've seen us bring in more and more jobs along with the development of residential. So it's been coming. I think the only way we're going to change, and I'm concerned about the West Chapel and 56 area with the traffic on that road, is if we have a leapfrog issue where it moves from 56, and it's coming, up to 52 for more restaurants and things of that nature and some of that new development we have up there, that will actually move some of those people out of the Wesley Chapel that are actually coming from the north and won't overcrowd that.
They'll stop up there instead of coming
Yeah,
further
that's
down.
right. So that in itself would help if we have development like that, so, in the future, so.
Madam Chair, so there's a selectivity discussion we could have. I've had recent discussions with Bill Cronin, and logistics, distribution, warehousing, hotels are not heavy job generators, nor do they pay a lot of wage.
Right.
So we could charge them something.
I think we should.
Because we have no competition with any of the counties in the region on mobility impact fees.
Well, I'm in agreement with you. I have a question for you. Do nonprofits pay mobility fees?
Yes. Depending on, what their use is and the purpose.
Okay, so,
They don't pay ad valorem taxes.
okay. That answers
Okay.
that question.
Yeah.
All right, so are we,
So I guess what I'm hearing is on office and industrial, I mean, Commissioner Mariano's made his point very, very clear. But, you know, Commissioner, to some exceptions, perhaps with the quality of industrial, perhaps
Yeah,
change your
maybe
mind on
on
some
a
things?
case by
That's what
case,
David
we
Engel
could-
is really referring to. Is that
Yeah.
something you'd be open to exploring?
I want the image to be zero. I want that to be marketing to be zero. Office, if there's no office market, we're not losing a dime. If I got industrial coming in, I got jobs coming in that are right there. If I can keep people working here, I'm saving trips on everything else. You know, I'm creating an economy that looks to go that way.
It would be interesting to know if the amount of jobs we've created has less people driving south as a per capita number. You know, have we made an impact? Or does it just, do they both just keep growing? The more people move here, the same percentage is still driving south, while a certain percentage stays.
That's a great question, because
Yeah.
the irony is, we're the job shed, the employment shed for Hillsborough and Clearwater. And the flip side is, our job shed is now Hernando and Manatee County.
Yeah.
I just, could I, oh, go ahead. I just wanted to point out one thing with the selectivity discussion. So, we have limited amount of light industrial land in this county. And that's why we had a Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council study. And we're oversupplied now in warehouses. They take up our valuable land. So, that's why I'm partial to the selectivity discussion, because we are incentivizing zero to get advanced manufacturing and high-paying jobs in the county, not tilt up empty.
Warehouses.
Yeah, the warehouses with nobody in them.
With 3 jobs, yeah, I'm in agreement with you.
Dave, if you can cut out warehouses, I'll listen to that. That makes sense.
David, to where Commissioner Mariano is, so anything over 49% requires unanimous vote.
Well, it's 51% or more.
Okay.
Over 50.
And it's my goal as your chair to leave here today with some numbers, to tighten it up so staff knows where we want to go from each commissioner, so we're not doing this in a board meeting, that we kind of hash something.
So if I can move to retail, so I'm hearing, I mean, to raise it $1, back to Commissioner Waitman's question, that is mathematically an increase and would require unanimous vote.
No, retail's different because.
No, not retail, I'm sorry, on office industrial. I'm sorry,
Office
David.
industrial, even $1 increase requires a unanimous vote.
Okay,
Oh, really?
yes.
Yes,
Why?
because our fee is 0 currently.
Holy cow.
So any addition under those laws. But I am hearing willingness to discuss warehouses, so we'll take that under advisement and then come back to you on that one. As far as retail goes, is there an appetite? It appears to be an appetite of the board to increase that. And as much as we want to talk numbers, you know, Nick, would our conversation on retail, does that matter, or does that gravely impact or materially impact what we do with retail? If the board were to say to go to no incentive on retail, does that impact what we do on residential? And
I don't think so.
Okay.
And I think what I heard from the board is, let's ask the large national retailers to pay their fees, but let's not get way out of alignment with our neighbors.
Yeah, because that
Correct.
encourages redevelopment, which is a good thing for us.
So-
And helps
so-
our locals.
Yeah.
Mom and pops.
So
And I
we'll
think
run some comparisons.
We can put a scenario together that I think will hit that target.
Yeah, okay. I think we can get there.
Can you, when we're done with this exercise today, can you give us a little number on what we might have, a percentage of the apple we might have bit out with our baby steps here?
Sure.
I was gonna ask the same thing, like if we all come to an agreement on a number, how big of a chunk?
Yeah, we need to
Yeah.
know how well we've done.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay, all right, so where are we now?
Option 2.
And now we talk about the residential. And we really just look at single-family and multifamily here. And I've heard the board already say, multifamily, the intent and the direction was 0 subsidy. And so if that,
Can I suggest we pause for a minute?
Sure.
I mean, Commissioner Waitman's stepped away, so.
Oh, well,
Did you pause when I stepped away?
no, go ahead.
On
Keep going.
residential, he's concerned about the residential. I'll tell him man when he gets back.
But you're talking about multifamily, so,
Yeah, so item 2 on this option is the multifamily subsidies. And I think I've heard the board say, hey, the previous policy was no subsidy for multifamily. So maybe that one, we have the direction we need unless there's board discussion that you want to have regarding multifamily. But maybe we
Well,
can
not only
focus-
that, but removing that subsidy is a less than 50% increase. It wouldn't even require an unanimous vote.
Yes.
So,
So I think really the focal point is, what do you want to do with single-family residential fees?
I think we need to do something.
And again, for the board's context, current rate for a suburban area is $9,600 per home. The maximum amount supported by this fee study is $18,200 per home. And then if we wanted to do just a 25% subsidy, that would put you at around the $13,600 per home. And coincidentally, that 13,600 falls within the 50% range.
Well, I think I'm at the 25%. B. Anyone else want to throw out a number?
So that would push, Nick, that would push the deposit you put on a new home, that would run it from about 25,000 up.
It would add 4,000, so it would put it about 29,000.
So where would we
Right.
be on that slide with the,
Because you said, I think they said the high one was like 36 or 37,000.
If I jump
Possibly.
quickly back to that slide, that would put us
Yeah.
here. So it would add roughly 4,000 to the amount. And we're
And your blue line, Nick, would shift up closer to the 15,000 or just under that.
Yep, and so it would be similar in magnitude, mobility fees would be similar in magnitude to Orange and still significantly lower than Osceola.
But nowhere on here is a public safety impact fee.
We don't have one yet.
contemplated. I know, but I thought we were contemplating one.
Correct.
Although, and I think I see like an Osceola, is that very top on the fire rescue? I mean, does any of those counties have a public safety impact fee? Do we know? It's not listed there.
I don't think any fire rescues on the chart.
I don't recall in my research.
Okay.
I think
Well,
I
that'd be
grouped
good
them
to know.
together for purposes of comparison into the fire rescue category. I can't recall whether some of those counties have distinct public safety fees. But if they have one, it would have been in the purple category, so maybe Osceola, I would have added it to the total, but I would have grouped it in fire rescue.
Fire rescue.
Yeah.
We'll find out.
Okay. But even that, I would imagine when we start off, that would be a low number, not 13,000 a home or something like we're talking about.
How long have we
Per
had
house.
that fee, the 9,600?
Let me do that.
Good question.
Is that 2021, Nick? Is that when we went to the 9,000?
Oh, yeah, I think I remember something in the
So
20s.
Back in 2011, we started at 8,500.
Oh, okay.
And then we retained that fee for the first 10 years. It was flat. And then in 2021, the study was performed that said we should increase the residential fee. We increased it to 8,800, so only $300 per home.
Right.
And then staged the overall increase to 9,600 over that 4-year period. So in '22, it went up a little more. In '23, it went up. '24, it went up. '25, it went up, because you adopted a 4-year set of tables, fees for each year.
and I think you
And
could
ultimately
assume that
finished at
any,
9,600.
that any increase we do will have to be phased in over 4 years.
That's
Right, yeah, I heard that.
So,
Okay.
yeah, so what David said, it's important
Yeah.
to make that note. What we're asking you is what fee rate would you like for year 4 as part of this study? Because we would have to implement it over 4 steps, 4 1-year periods. So we would, if you pick, say, jumping back to the residential slide, if you say 13,600, that would be the fee that we would charge in 2030. But in 2027, 2028, 2029, we would charge essentially 25% of the increase between existing and the final number.
Madam Chair?
Yep, Commissioner Whit.
So, let's say we went to the full increase. and let's say after 2 years, we says, you know what? We're gonna stick to that 13.6 number. We're not gonna raise the years 3 and 4. Could we do that?
You mean, yeah, you mean after year 2, sort of repeal your increase?
Here's my thought. The phasing in, and I've got a ton of homes, especially in the Hudson area coming in, that I can't get stuff done.
I know, you're trying
I
to
got
jump
other
the
things.
phasing.
I want to jump the phasing to increase the money right off the bat. But I'm thinking, I wonder if we went to the full implementation, so you get a bigger increase year 1, bigger year increase 2, and then we can make a decision if we choose to, or could we, is my question. Could we say after year 2, all right, we're not going to increase it anymore?
The legislation
It's an
says that
interesting-
has to be divided by, into 4 years. Is it equal parts?
Yes, it's 4 equal increases, if that's your question.
Okay.
But he wants to forego years 3 and 4.
No,
That
if
answers
it's
the
4
question.
equal parts, it's 4 equal parts. You
1,000
can't
each year.
Gotcha.
front load it.
I can't reverse to go back.
Yeah, let me look, pull out it again, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be 4.
You know, while David's looking that up, the interesting thing in that chart showing from where we were from 2011 to today, we haven't, collectively, we haven't kept up with the pace of inflation since 2011 on the mobility fees.
Correct.
Over the
I meant
last
to
4
say
or
that
5
about
years.
the tree cap, but I forgot to, so I'm gonna bring it up the next one. Yeah, we're just, maybe we'll still be behind on it.
Nick, do we know what an inflation adjusted from 2011 number would have looked like?
No.
I should have asked you that in my briefing, but I didn't think about it. I'm just curious, because
ChatGPT
that would
will
sort
know.
of,
We could calculate it, if you
Yeah.
like.
Actually,
We'll just take the
Commissioner-
CPI
Commissioner,
and we'll
you can do
compound it
2,
out.
you can do it in 2 increments. So you can
Mike,
do
you
it
want me to
in,
do that?
you can do it in
yeah,
2
just
years
run
we
it
can
real
get
quick.
it up.
I mean, that's,
Can't do it now, but.
If
You
you
can
want
do
to
it
do it in
pretty-
2, you
oh.
can. It says at least 2, but not more than 4.
Oh,
If you did that, wouldn't that just cause a bunch of empty inventory?
I can't speculate on that.
I'm just curious, because if you're upping the fees like that that
I mean, I can tell you that
drastic.
the development community, we've historically done it
In
over
phases.
4 years. I mean, we did the school increase over 4 years. We did, well, no, parks we did not. But the last mobility increase we did over 4 years. So if you ask TBBA, they're going to tell you they'd prefer it to be staged over 4 years.
Like, I don't have a problem with a little bit of an increase, but I also, like, we're having an affordable housing crisis too.
Well,
Well, the
to be
market-
clear, we
the
have-
market-
So
yeah.
we've already, so let me be clear about that. We already had, if you remember, the board adopted fee waivers for affordable housing.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's affordable housing, Habitat for Humanity, et cetera, they pay nothing. They pay no impact fees.
No, I just meant like our missing middle. Like, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
That's what I'm nervous about. Because like you have a lot of projects coming in at Hudson, and I think they're coming in at a good price point, aren't they?
They may be, but $4,000 is not going to affect it, won't you? I mean, it's like Osceola, they just raise this up because they know they need to do it. If you
Well,
drive
and
up
I
there,
think, yeah.
That's
The
pennies on the
traffic
dollar.
up there is brutal.
Yeah.
Pennies.
And they got toll roads everywhere because they didn't do what they're supposed to do. Matter of fact, we're at Hills, at Tampa Bay Water yesterday, one of the commissioners there from Hillsborough was saying, Pasco did a great job with their fees right off the bat, and that he wishes he had done the same. But literally, when you get people stuck, and you can go in that whole Hudson area, North and South Kitten Trail, Hudson Avenue, you go in the morning, it's jam-packed, you can't get anywhere.
Well,
When I get 1,000 homes coming above, and I don't have the money for the infrastructure to go fix the stuff in that area, it's gonna be a disaster. I got people at Ross Lane come with the project, and they're gonna give me like $150,000 toward a light I need. They're not talking about putting a lane in. We need infrastructure to put in here to minimize this. I mean, down at 54, you're stuck in traffic, brutal.
Fred,
Oh, I'm all
It's
for
just brutal. So
infrastructure.
if we don't collect it now, we're gonna be stuck in traffic. And I think in the last 4 years, I bet your inflation rate's probably about 30%.
That's
Maybe
correct.
40%, okay. So it's 30% right there just in the past 4 years, never mind what happened before. We've got to catch up. We're falling behind on it. And residential, it's gonna keep coming.
Yeah.
It's gonna keep coming.
There's studies out there, well, I was reading it, I don't know how accurate it is, but news report saying another 9% of New Yorkers are looking to flee the city. But I don't know what 9% equates to, but they're probably going to land in Texas and here in Florida and Tampa
We
Bay.
get 11 million people.
So, I mean,
I'll give you one example. Down at Coral Gables, a friend of mine's got a condo down there. He said 20 condos are on the market. These things are going from like 800 to 1.1 million. 6 of them sold in the past week and a half.
New Yorkers?
Cash.
Or New
Oh,
Yorkers?
yeah, that's
it's
me.
used
New Yorkers.
It's definitely.
They're coming.
They're coming.
Well, and that comes back to the point, as I think Nick made it earlier with Osceola County as an example. It does not seem to be a lot of elasticity with that, and I would still maintain that, you know, our subsidies for affordable housing are already in place to promote that, and then the remainder of your housing inventory, it's market-driven. And so the price of a house is the price of a house, regardless of how much it costs to build or to invest in it. And I think I overheard Commissioner Waitman, you know, as you amortize that over a 30-year mortgage, it's not a lot. And it addresses your infrastructure, your infrastructure pieces. So I mean, I'm hearing some desire to relook at that. Are there any particular, I mean, you see the full
what
freight
number?
of this is at 18,000. Now, I don't know what the inflationary costs have been since 2021, but, you know, we have to look forward. These are numbers that are with us.
I tell you, the piece of this that gives me the most heartburn, I've said it before when we've talked about impact fees, it's not so much the folks that are moving here, it's the folks that have been here before COVID and have lived here a long time and want to just change their housing situation, or they finally saved up to build their dream home. And it hurts the local resident, and it puts it out of reach for the folks that have been here, and at no fault of their own, this crazy market shift over the last 6 years. And those folks, and I agree with them, they feel like they've been punished and they're getting pushed out of their home. So I don't know how to if there's a way, like we've discussed with one-off cases with negotiating with businesses or whatever, but if there's somebody who's lived here 10, 15, 20, 25 years before, they were living in Pasco before Pasco was cool, and they want to continue to live here, if there's a way to not club them over the head because of market changes. That's where my sensitivity is, and my hesitation. It's not for all the new folks that are moving here. It's for the folks that have been here a long time and want to stay here and upgrade or change their living situation. Like, oh, can't afford it, so we're moving. And that really is not a good thing to hear.
David?
Well, the market sets the price on housing.
I get it.
Correct. Yeah.
And if
They set the market on
So
housing, we set
impact
the fee
fees,
structure
if-
on what they pay to
If the
live
fees
here.
are high, I mean, the seller's gonna get whatever they can get. So if there's any impact on the fees, it's not the buyer, it's the seller that'll lead it. Because they have to, if the fees generate a cost in excess to the value of the home, then to sell that home, they have to bring the price down.
Correct.
But you're not gonna pay a mobility fee on a existing house. It's only if you build a new house.
It's on a new home.
Yeah. But if you sell your old home, again, I think David's kind of saying the market is efficient and it kind of comes out in the wash a little bit. Although if you go and you directly gonna want to go build a custom home, you're stroking that check, and I understand what you're talking about. I mean, I moved within the county and I paid impact fees again, you know, on new construction I bought from a builder. But I think really the scenario you're talking about is that true.
I'm talking about the minor rural
That
subdivision
minor-
type living.
Well, we
understand.
could have an incentive, just like we have
Home
with
sites.
locally owned small businesses. If you're building your own home, if you're a resident or a future resident, then you could have an adjustment.
That would be a good idea.
I'm
Yeah, but
talking
you'd
those-
have to put, like, you have to live in that house for 5 years or something. You can't, you know,
Well, if it's the board's
gamers.
desire to explore that, we can
I'm
run some traps.
talking more for the more rural way of life on
Yeah.
acre or more, 5 acres or more, a true homestead, right? Not living in a CDD.
Well,
Ah.
let's, Madam Chair?
Yeah.
So think about this, though, you know, just graduated college, gonna start your family, you grew up in Pasco, we want those people to stay here. If there's an incentive way that we can keep someone who's a resident, you know, grew up here, et cetera, buying their first home, if there's some type of incentive for a resident to get some type of assistance for that, I'm good with that. Because I want the young people, the bright stars to stay here.
Yeah.
Right? That's what you want.
I know we do have that, but I think it's income-based.
Yeah.
It's just like, excuse me, Chair.
Probably new
It's ju-
graduate's gonna be 12.
It's just
yeah.
like here in Pasco County, 40% of our employees need affordable housing, and probably 40% of our citizens in the county need those same kind of housing. And that's what we're talking about, is helping them be able to go in a home and have their first home. And they've lived here their entire life. I'm sure they expected over the years they were going to build their own home away from their parents. But you find a lot of them are living with the parents because they can't afford housing outside.
That's right, Commissioner, and the average age of a new home buyer is now 40 years old, and 10 years ago was 32 years old.
Yeah, that's the change.
Yes, sir.
But to Commissioner Waitman's point, it's the people who, let's say, bought a home and want to upgrade.
No.
I
Can't
agree
do it.
with that.
The family's grown or
Yes,
whatever.
yep. They're getting pummeled.
Yeah, I don't know what the answer is there, but I just
Yeah,
figured
because
I'd
we're
share
supposed
mine.
to be finding money, not taking away money from the road construction here.
Oh,
So-
yeah, agreed.
Well, that kind of takes it to the next option, which is,
Okay.
Madam Chair?
Commissioner Mariano.
So
we
David,
doing
what
here?
could we do for people that have lived here, whether they're a family that's growing or a first-time buyer that's lived here? What type of incentives could we do for those folks there? Because if people coming from New York, let them pay full freight.
Well, I think.
But if we're gonna get someone that's lived here and grown up, or a family that's grown and wants to make an adjustment, how do we help them?
I mean, Commissioner, I guess what, I think the point David was trying to make is if David upgrades his home and moves with his family, but he sells it to someone from New York for, double what he paid for it, it kind of comes
Whatever
out,
I can
it
get.
comes out in the wash with the economics of the situation. Commissioner Waitman, I know. But what I'm trying to key in on is what the rural discussion was, very, very specifically to a very specific set of circumstances. So it's really kind of up to the board.
I'm not sure that we
because if you
should
don't
be
make those
favoring one
exceptions,
type of lifestyle over another either. That makes me uncomfortable.
What do you think the affordable housing is?
Um,
It's income-based, so
No,
you're
no, if
favoring.
you wanted to
We're
move
getting
up
off
to-
topic here, but,
Yeah.
I mean,
You want to move up to a bigger house, but you only get a subsidy if you're out in the country where it costs more to deliver services. It's like a double whammy to everybody else.
I
Let
would
me
just
ask
like
you-
some time to think through it
Yeah.
with the team,
What is-
recognizing that the board
What is our
wants something.
first-time home buyer program and who funds that? Don't we have,
Well,
Yeah, that's run out of community development, I
Community development.
believe.
And also, the federal government provides a subsidy for first-time home buyers.
okay, so we do, there is something.
There
And
is-
maybe one day if we have an extra pot of money, we can add to that maybe.
Yeah,
Well, that's right,
the-
you don't have to focus on the mobility impact fee, you
Yeah.
focus on the user and what
We
we can do
can
for that
see if we
user.
want to help that, because I agree with you, we want them to be able to stay here.
Okay.
But maybe that's not part of this discussion, but we find.
Madam
Okay.
Chair, maybe
Yeah.
I'll make a last remark on this. I love the discussion that you're having, by the way. To answer Mike's question, if we had started with our 86, or whatever it was, 8650 in 2011, and we had ramped that up, 8570 in 2011, and we had adjusted that for a consumer price index-based inflation,
Okay.
not a producer
Got the
price,
number.
but consumer price, it would put you right around 13,000 today.
Oh, boy.
That's what we ought to be charging today, just to keep up with inflation on the consumer side. Producer price index inflation has been a little higher recently. That's why we told you our justified need is so great, because it costs more to build roadways today than it used to. That 13,000 level would also fall within the 50% threshold, and it would also maintain a healthy balance between the single-family rate and the multifamily rate as far as their transportation impacts and their relative fees go. It would keep the single-family a little higher than multifamily, because they generate more traffic, historically, yeah, from a data statistics perspective. All food for thought. I think we've got very good feedback.
I want to try and give you numbers here today before we leave.
So a 25% increase on a single family would bring you up to parity with inflation.
Correct.
Well,
So-
then that's the minimum. we
And,
need to-
and that's the number
right?
you will reach within 2 years, up to 4 years?
It's 4 years.
Well, they can either do it in two-year increments or 4.
So my suggestion would be is if we're going to maintain parity, is that we sort of predict out where we ought to be in 2 to 4 years and target that. But if we want to go higher, that's still below what your need is. I mean, clearly it's better than where we are, but it does not fully fund where we put the need and what the true impact is.
Okay, I'm going to quiz my fellow commissioners here. Commissioner Oakley, where are
Well-
you on that number?
If we do it the way you're talking about, where we should be now,
It's 25% is
we're still gonna be
increases.
behind in 2 to 4
Right.
years.
Yes, sir.
You know,
Okay, so
So-
what number are you comfortable with then? Think about it. If you,
well, I'm good with the 13,000, so.
well, then that's just parity in 2 years. We'll still be behind in 2 years then.
We're always gonna be.
Okay, so-
You're always gonna be behind because you lag behind.
Okay, so you like the 25%? Commissioner Waitman?
I'm not ready to make a decision right now.
Right, Commissioner Mariota?
This is a lot to chew on.
It is, yeah.
So at a minimum, the 25%, and if I'm going to do
Yeah.
that, I want that number in 2 years rather than 4 years.
I am for doing it within, if, whatever we land on doing it within the 2-year timeframe. I'll commit to that.
Commissioner Yeager?
I will too.
So that's 3.
I'm
You won't-
willing to
you won't
commit
need
to
5 votes.
25%, but would also look at, what if we're gonna be behind, maybe bumping it up a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that, I think that I would be with,
By
I
the
think I
way,
would go a little more.
just so you know, a 50% increase would be 14,469.
Let's go 1468.
I would,
Give someone an out.
so what's a 20% subsidy?
I don't know. I only calculated the 50% increase because I know that's what requires the unanimous vote.
We're gonna do a 6-7?
Yeah, yeah, 6.5.
Oh, don't start that.
Okay, well, we're at least
I don't know
at
what the
25
subsidy
within
is.
2 years, maybe more. All right?
Okay.
I don't know what the increase, that's a 50%
All right,
increase.
multifamily?
All the way.
What did you say? Guys, where, multifamily, we're on multifamily.
I'm here.
Multifamilies go all the way to the top.
Right to the buck, max.
Yeah.
Same.
What they require out of just public safety alone is
Yep.
a lot.
Can we move them up in 2 years? Multifamily.
You can only increase your fees every 4 years.
So we're stuck for 2 more years?
We can max
You
them
can
out.
you
too.
can max them out, and you can do it in a, actually,
Max
this
it
one,
out
you're
in
not,
2 years.
you're not increasing by more than 50%, so you could do it all now.
Oh, perfect.
You could do it all,
Okay.
Okay,
you could do it all
maximum right now.
immediately.
all right, so you got everyone in agreement on that one? Okay.
Yep.
Woo-hoo! All right.
Having that unanimous.
Okay, so calibrate service levels.
And essentially, this is your opportunity to say that we need a lot more roads than we can afford, and let's just reduce the number of roads that we're committing to build.
14,469.
Question.
Oh, I don't like that.
I understand. The new program we're doing roads, Branford and his team worked out for us all, really has worked out very well. Even to the point that I get calls, people, if they're not on those lists that they can see, they said, our road's been bad like this for 25 or 30 years, it should already be done. So there is a need for more money to go toward roads that we've, because of PVAS, lagged behind.
Increase the fees.
And to catch it up, you've got to get a little more money in to do. And we've done a great job in using the money we have to repair a lot of new roads, so.
But this is building new roads.
That's right.
That's what we're talking about
This is
today.
constructing and widening, this is not repaving.
This is not
Well,
repaving
okay.
again.
So-
Meta points on here, Nick. Thank you.
But you can add it up for all of them. So, you need them all.
Reduce urban spending areas by 50%. So you're saying, don't? No, that's not an option. I mean, there's, those 2 are right there on the 54 corridor. That's a parking lot, so, yeah. 2, reduce suburban areas. Build first 2 lanes of new roadways. Congestion increases in major.
It comes down to you need to put those vision roads in because that's your connection going different directions to move people around rather than the same roads that we have today. So that would help the network,
That's right.
spreading the traffic out.
And for legal access purposes, if you want to allow development, you have to provide minimal infrastructure to support it. So the first 2 lanes provide legal access to the lots that we would allow to be subdivided and sold off. Then you would deal with the complaints from the residents because they have moved into an area where there are 4 lanes of demand and only 2 lanes of capacity.
Exactly.
So how much money did we get you here today, and how does that affect option 3? Can we tweak those numbers?
Well, and I think the short answer is probably closer to half of the shortfall is what you were able to generate with the fee discussion that occurred on the first 2 options.
So then you could say reduce urban area spending by 25%, reduce suburban by 13%, or does it not work out that way?
And ultimately, without getting too into the details, we can make those adjustments and say, let's make smaller reductions in the investment level. This really, the slide 4, or the option 4, is the hybrid, where we say, look, the discussion that's occurred this morning regarding some level of fee increases now is very appropriate. Any corresponding shortfall would be equivalent to a reduction in service levels. But honestly, it would also be a mandate to your county staff to figure out how to be more efficient, nimble, fast in delivering the infrastructure. I mean, I'm hearing we've got a timing issue. We've got to figure out how to accelerate delivery of projects. If we can front load and accelerate, then we might also insulate ourselves from some of the inflationary impacts of production costs. So we build stuff quicker by either partnering, front loading. We had talked about, and I'm going to say this with trepidation, bonding the infrastructure costs against some of the TIF revenues that would be that would come online later, so that we can accelerate delivery of some of these projects. And then ultimately, we have to, and partnering with the department, I mentioned to Commissioner Waitman, we are partnering with them on the resurfacing of 56 to add the turn lanes at Meadow Point to relieve that bottleneck intersection. Those opportunities, when you've got a developer out there building something, when you've got DOT out there building something, if we can tag on to them and deliver a project more quickly, it buys down cost and it accelerates implementation. It makes the world move a little bit faster.
I agree.
And when we go for appropriations, it should be only for collector or arterial roads, vision roads. Not internal
And that's item
development.
2C on this slide, is we would also look to fill the funding gap with external revenues, grants and appropriations specifically. And then we're committed to collecting additional transportation data so that we can define our needs, focus our investments, and deal with, you get to do this again in 4 years. So we would deal with a funding gap as we go forward in future mobility fee updates.
So Nick, what I'm hearing you say is, short of being able to actually do a calculation, that we've made significant progress towards addressing that gap. Maybe the right answer is let's take a look at what those actually do and implement some of these suggestions. I like the ideas of partnering with the development community, and as well as being nimble and more quicker at pulling things in, and then come back and weigh where we've been. So I think
that'd be good, so you'd have some kind of meeting at a high level once you come back, meet with each commissioner prior to a workshop like this, and then you'll have your questions that you want to ask that'll make this meeting go better and quicker. So,
yes, sir.
yeah.
Madam Chair?
Yep.
So I think the dialogue's been good. I think it'd be good to engage the TVBA.
Yes, sir.
In years past, they've been supportive of us getting our infrastructure in place. So I think if we can get their support, even if it's the higher numbers, they may say, you know what, we need to have the roads in place, otherwise you're going to gridlock. No one's going to come here anyway. And only turn this place into Miami. If they get supportive to it, maybe make it easier for the rest of us to look at it. Because if the market goes to say, we want to see you put the infrastructure in place, maybe they will too.
Understood.
Something that we have not talked about here today is the regional MPO, and also microtransit. So, I don't know where we are with our microtransit study, but Seminole County is going 100% microtransit in their county. We learned that at the Metro Plan Orlando meeting. And, but we're going to have somewhat of a responsibility when we do the regional MPO to put some of our federal money into a pie of some sort.
Kansas City did the same thing. They're almost all microtransit now. And also, Arlington, Texas is doing the same thing.
Yeah, we're the largest MSA that hasn't done anything like this, so, but, and, you know, when we had T-BARTA, we had a plan for BRT on State Road 56, and 56, 54 going down along 275. I think there's a chance that project could come back. We're also talking with Pinellas County about BRT on 19.
Okay.
So, you know, we're talking transportation here. I don't know if our MPO folks are here. We got to use, but we should be including them when we talk about transportation in the county, because the federal money's really coming to them, right?
Federal transit dollars go to the transit operator,
Yeah.
not to the MPO.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
we just need to include those discussions here.
Yep.
Okay.
I just want to say, Nick, you did a great job today. Thank you.
Yeah.
I love this stuff. Thank you for spending so much time on it. It's my favorite topic. I appreciate it.
It's a toughie. I mean, it affects everybody. You know, more and more I see people going to work on electric bikes, which is good and bad, because sometimes they're going to work too fast on our trails on electric bikes. Yeah, so,
Madam Chair, our last slide is
Okay.
just the timeline for adoption. And we are, essentially, the keys for you as a commission, we are going to get the feedback from private industry, the development industry stakeholders. We're going to go through the planning commission and the horizontal roundtable, and then we're going to come back to you. Our target is March and April for a first reading for the ordinance amendment, and then an adoption in April. I hear Commissioner Oakley, we will do the one-on-one briefings to make sure that we have addressed the targets and have a reasonable approach to you. I don't think we were planning a second board workshop.
I think we got
Yeah.
far enough along.
I think we'll be okay without.
We can do it in an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one-on-ones will take care of that, so.
I do want to mention, as far as the effective date, we have an ordinance coming to you in December to maintain our 2025 fees until they are modified by this process. So they will extend into 2026. Right now, the effective date of updated fee amounts, because of the time it takes to bring back the ordinance for adoption and the time it takes to then program those fees into our back-end financial accounting system, with respect to Acela and making sure that it plugs into all of the funds appropriately. Our effective date is targeted January 1 of 27. So we're just acknowledging to you right now, the 2025 fees will continue throughout calendar year 2026 until the new rates are established and become effective January of 27.
That answers my
Mariano.
question, just because I was wondering for grandfathering in.
So my thought would be, I would like to speed this process up. I mean, literally, we're missing out on revenues we need for impacts, we need for shortfalls. What could we do to speed this process up, especially with an industry stakeholder? I bet you they meet with you tomorrow.
Look, well, you can see February to April, March is missing.
I mean, I think timing, because we can, if we had this ready today, we could start implementing, correct?
The part you could definitely speed up, and Nick, I'm not sure you could speed up the adoption process too
Number
much
5.
more. But I don't know why you have to wait till January of 2027 to start implementing. If you're adopting in
So, Commission, I've spoken with the team and with David about that. You know, the programming, and there were some questions that we had that perhaps could be done parallel if we know the numbers and increase that. So there's probably some float in this schedule that we will attempt to implement as expeditiously as possible. David, do we have to set, when the board passes the ordinance, it sets the effective date?
It
Okay.
does.
So,
If you want to delay it, you need to delay it, you need to specify that. in the
I mean,
ordinance.
you do have to have 90 days, you have to notice any increase 90 days in advance of the increase. That's
Got you.
That's state law required.
So if we stayed on that track, then July of '26 would be the soonest then that they could be implemented. So David Allen and I will be having some discussions on implementation piece of that. There are some complications because of how the zones, and there's calculations and things with how building department implements these things, that challenges that need to be addressed. But I share your zeal for wanting to get these implemented as soon as possible.
When I look at number 2, you got December and January, including the horizontal roundtable and the ordinance development team. I think you should do a workshop kind of like this with them, put everybody in the room, talk it through. You've got our comments to talk about, and then you can even, I think you'd be able to shorten your recommendations up. I think we've kind of given you some decent direction, but if there was support to go stronger, we'd like to hear that from them. But I think if you can move that into December, I got to think.
December's like next week.
That's right.
2 weeks.
This is important
I don't know.
enough. I got to think it's important enough that people get rolling. So all right, so we, the first part of January.
Yeah.
But then as far as planning commission goes?
Planning Commission and BCC, I mean.
I think your adoption timeline is probably pretty realistic.
Well, let me ask you why the planning commission's on there. And I say that they're a planning group.
They're still your local planning agency. They have to make a recommendation
No, okay.
on the.
I'm just saying, they're not in the financial parts of it. They're looking at things with what's
The
in front of
fastest
them.
I've ever seen him roll over on anything.
It's a good group, but again, that if it could be moved up too. Just again, if we can condense it, the quicker we can turn this, the quicker we can deal with these shortfalls we get.
Okay. I think we'll take
Yeah,
that
we
to
can take a
task.
look at shortening it up as much as possible.
Okay, then I think we are done.
Yeah.
Good job, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Great job.
Thank you.
Good.